The night it happened, the rain was coming down in sheets so heavy the pavement looked like it was boiling. I stood on the grand marble steps of my son Ethan's mansion, clutching a worn sweater tighter around my shoulders. My old suitcase sat beside me, water already soaking through the fabric, my belongings inside turning to mush. The glow of the chandelier from inside spilled onto the polished floors of the entryway, but none of that warmth touched me. Ethan stood in the doorway, tall, broad-shouldered, dressed in a tailored suit as though he had somewhere better to be. His eyes were cold, and the way his mouth curled when he looked at me made me feel smaller than I ever thought a mother could feel in front of her child. "You're just a charity case we let live here," he said, voice sharp, cutting louder than the thunder behind him. "You should be grateful you had a roof over your head at all. Don't come crying to me like I owe you anything. Please subscribe to our channel and tell us in comments from where are you watching this video." I blinked against the rain, unable to believe the words had truly come from him. This was the boy I carried in my arms through fevers. The child I stayed up all night sewing Halloween costumes for when I had no money to spare. The teenager whose football games I attended even when my bones ached from double shifts. And now, as a grown man with money, power, and the arrogance that came with both, he looked at me like a burden he couldn't wait to shake off. "Ethan," I said softly, my voice trembling, "you're my son. I gave everything I had to raise you." He laughed, a hollow, cruel sound that echoed under the mansion's high stone arches. "And that was your job. You chose to have me. Don't pretend like you're some saint. You did the bare minimum and now you think you're entitled to live here forever? Not happening. This is my house, my rules. You're not needed here anymore." The butler shifted uncomfortably behind him but said nothing. The staff avoided my eyes, their silence as cutting as his words. I felt the sting of humiliation run hotter than the rain on my face. My hands trembled as I bent to pick up the suitcase, but Ethan gave it a sharp kick with his polished shoe, sending it tumbling down the stairs. It landed with a sickening splash in the puddle below, clothes and photographs spilling out, floating like debris in a flood. "Go," he ordered, his tone final as though I were some servant overstaying her welcome. "And don't come back. You're an old woman who's outlived her usefulness. I don't want you embarrassing me in front of my friends or my fiancé. You don't fit in here." My lips quivered, but no words came out. I swallowed the lump in my throat and turned slowly, one hand reaching for the suitcase as if it were the last shred of my dignity. The cold rain soaked me through, my hair plastered to my cheeks. My back bent as I dragged what was left of my life into the street. I didn't beg. I didn't plead. But inside, something fractured. For the first time in 70 years, I felt the emptiness of motherhood, the cruel reminder that no matter how much love you pour into a child, they can grow into someone who sees you as disposable. I spent that night on a bus stop bench not far from his mansion. My joints ached, my throat burned, and every passing car sprayed me with more water. Still, I refused to cry. If my son thought he had broken me, he hadn't seen the woman who built herself from nothing long before he had the luxury of marble staircases and crystal chandeliers. And while I shivered in that storm, clutching the wet photographs of him as a baby, I knew something with absolute certainty. Life has a way of returning cruelty in unexpected ways. Ethan thought I was powerless. He thought I was irrelevant. But he had no idea how quickly tides can turn. Because before dawn the next morning, when the storm had quieted and the sky turned a pale gray, I would already hear the sound of fists pounding desperately on my door, my son's voice trembling for the first time in years. That morning, the storm had left the world damp and eerily quiet. I sat in the tiny rented room above an old bakery, the scent of yeast and burnt coffee drifting through the cracks in the wall. My clothes were still damp from the night before, and my hands shook as I tried to warm them around a chipped teacup. I hadn't slept. The image of Ethan's sneer as he kicked my suitcase into the rain kept replaying, stabbing me in places deeper than bones. It was just past 8 when the pounding began. At first I thought it was someone fighting in the alley, but then I heard it clearly, My name, shouted in a desperate voice I hadn't heard since Ethan was a frightened child. "Mom, open up, please, open the door." I froze. My heart lurched as I recognized the voice that only hours earlier told me I was a charity case. He was breathless, frantic, his fists slamming against the wood so hard I thought it would splinter. I pulled the curtain back slightly and saw him. Ethan, my son, still in his expensive clothes but disheveled, soaked in sweat this time instead of rain. His tie hung loose, his hair plastered against his forehead, and his eyes were wide with a panic I had never seen on his face, not even when he was a boy. I opened the door slowly, my back still stiff from the night on the bench. "What is it, Ethan? I thought you didn't need me anymore." My voice was hoarse, brittle, but steady. He nearly stumbled inside, grabbing my hands like a drowning man. "Mom, please, you have to help me. Something's happened. I don't know who else to turn to." The audacity of it almost made me laugh. He hadn't turned to me out of love, but out of fear. "You threw me out like garbage less than 12 hours ago," I whispered. "What could possibly make you desperate enough to crawl back now?" His jaw trembled. He looked over his shoulder as though someone might be following. "They came last night. The investors. Mom, they know. They know about the deals. They said if I don't come up with the money by tomorrow, they'll ruin me. They'll ruin everything. Please, I need you. I need your advice. He choked on his words, eyes glistening. I let the silence hang heavy between us. He had always dismissed me as an old woman with no worth, yet here he was, shaking like a child who lost his way. And why would you think I could help you?" I asked, arms crossing slowly. "Because you're the only one who knows me," he pleaded. "You always know what to do. Please, I'm begging you, don't let them destroy me." The irony stung like salt in an open wound. Only the day before, I was the embarrassment he needed to erase from his perfect life. Now, I was suddenly indispensable. I studied him, the son I raised, the man who had learned cruelty and arrogance so well he forgot the hands that fed him. Something in me hardened then. The rain might have washed me cold last night, but now I felt steel in my veins. I didn't slam the door in his face. No, that would have been too easy. Instead, I pulled the chair out slowly and gestured for him to sit. "You'll have your chance to explain, Ethan. Every last detail, and when you're done, I'll decide if you're worth saving." His shoulders slumped with relief as he sat, but I turned away, hiding the faint smile tugging at my lips. He thought I was still the desperate mother he could command. He had no idea that while he slept in luxury, I had been sharpening my resolve in the storm. Because when a son throws his mother into the rain, the ground remembers, and sometimes it makes sure the storm doesn't end for him. Ethan's words spilled out like water from a broken pipe. He confessed everything: bad investments, shady loans, the arrogance that made him think he was untouchable. I listened, motionless, my hands folded in my lap, while his carefully built empire cracked in his own trembling voice. "Mom, they'll ruin me. They'll ruin the house, the business, everything. You don't understand. They'll take everything I own." His voice broke into a sob that reminded me of the boy who once clung to me during thunderstorms. I leaned forward, my eyes locking on his. "No, Ethan, I understand perfectly. I understand that you used me until I embarrassed you. I understand that you called me a burden. I understand that you let the rain soak into my bones while you slept under your golden roof. And now that roof is caving in, you expect me to hold it up for you?" His face crumpled, desperation turning ugly. "You're my mother. You can't just let me fall. What kind of mother abandons her son?" The words stung, but they also filled me with fire. A mother abandoned by her son learns quickly how to stop bleeding for someone who only knows how to wound her. He dropped to his knees on the bakery floor, his suit pants staining against the old tile. His voice cracked. "Please, Mom, I'll change. I'll never speak to you like that again. I'll give you anything. Just don't let them destroy me. I rose slowly, towering over him in a way I never had before. Ethan, last night I begged you for shelter, and you spat on me. Today you beg me for mercy. And here is the truth you need to taste. Mercy is something you threw down the stairs along with my suitcase. I stepped past him, opened the door wide, and let the damp morning air flood in, the same air that had cut through me when I sat in the storm. If you want shelter, Ethan, you'll find it the way I had to. Out there, where the rain doesn't care who you are. He clutched at my skirt, but I pulled free. His sobs followed me as I walked out onto the street, each sound a fragment of the arrogance he once wore like armor. The passers-by glanced at him, this once polished man groveling on the floor, and at me, walking away with the quiet dignity of a woman who had finally remembered her worth. 2 days ago, he called me useless. This morning he begged for my shelter, and in that moment the balance shifted, not because I destroyed him, but because I refused to be destroyed anymore. And sometimes the cruelest revenge isn't striking back. It's letting the one who threw you away learn what it feels like to be unwanted, unneeded, and left out in the rain. Please subscribe to our channel and tell us in comments from where are you watching this video.